He's not gone.
Yeah, man, I'm all pumped up. It's game week, ready to go. Welcome in, everybody. And this little string's going tinkle, 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 tinkle. Can't have all that. Yep, depth chart here in hand. We pretty much guessed that, right? I think we were right on every position. I mean, just you and me talking.
It's almost like we were able to go to practice or something.
It's almost like we saw the same thing the coach saw. We were like, yeah, he should probably start there. He should start there. Good that they see it that way. I'd hate to think they were wrong this early in the season already. Yeah, so here you go, guys. It's time to go. It's hard to believe, isn't it? Let's just big picture here. Come on in here and talk to Uncle Jeff. Here we go. Where are your heads at? You feeling all right? Everybody okay? You are eagerly anticipating another season, just as I am. But are your hopes high, or are they dampened by the handful of years that lay before this one? You know, the ones that had us thinking, ooh, goodness gracious, are we ever going to get back? I know there's some trepidation. I know that the cautiously optimistic crowd, that would be the vast majority of Florida State fans, I think, right about now. I think the most cynical amongst us, the most jaded, broken down, frustrated fan amongst the group on a Monday of game week finds that tinge, that something in them they thought was dead, that had been beaten out of them. They woke up today and they went, all right, I am. I've got to admit, I feel pretty good about this team. Like, whether it's true or not, it's the fan in all of us. It's hard. Like, I'll give you a good example, and certainly the Noles aren't this, but I'm a Pittsburgh Pirates fan. You guys know this if you're regular listeners. So, you know, much of my life has been spent hoping against hope in the regards to the start of a new season and my passion for the Pittsburgh Pirates. There have been a few exceptions, including when I was 8 years old and I saw them win the World Series, but it's been a minute. So, you know, and there's been a smattering of seasons that ended in heartbreak. The early 90s, Braves fans, you guys know the outcome of those series. So toughies, little Game 7 action, hurt your feelings. Then there's the run from about 8 years ago, where back-to-back seasons, we're right there, 98 wins, you know, real good team, league MVP, and Andrew McCutchen. Got a Cy Young candidate in Garrett Cole. Looking good, Tom. The Cardinals won 100 games. Oops. And we get beat in this newfangled one-game play-in scenario. Isn't that nice? That was lovely. So, yet, at the start of every spring training, I lie to myself and go, you know, they get a few bounces. You know, baseball's fickle. If they can win a lot of one-run games, you never know. Maybe they'll get to 81 wins or 82 wins, finish above 500, and that will satiate the fandom in me for the moment. I don't have these crazy aspirations of winning a World Series, just a winning season. I'll allow myself to believe it because I don't care how much of a realist you are, and I am a realist and very pragmatic. I know that the personnel, I'll look at it and be like, that ain't good. That's not good. This guy's going to be our opening day starter, and he's not any good. He wouldn't start for half the team. He wouldn't be in the rotation for half the teams in the National League, but he's our ace. That's never a good sign, but maybe he has a good year. Maybe he figures it out. So Florida State has better than that in the way of hope in recent success. Florida State has cachet that is the envy of college football most places. Not all, but most. And so we're not that far removed from having won the national title in 29 straight games. We're not that far removed from having been a perennial powerhouse, one that was loathed by the masses for its consistency of dominance. I liked that feeling. I liked walking through the door in a Florida State hat or shirt, or in the midst of a conversation with the fellas, maybe at a different locale, maybe we're out of town covering a game, whatever it is we're doing, and it comes up that you went to Florida State, that you root for Florida State, that you're a Nole. Because a lot of times the look on the faces of those around the table was that of disdain, that of, well, you've had a tough life, being awesome forever. And so we're not that far removed from that. But we are far enough removed from those days now that we are yearning, salivating, longing for something that suggests, once again, we will sit atop that mantle, that those descriptors will once again be viable. That finally there is evidence to that end, that it's on its way. We can smile again. Oh, happy days are here. Nobody's expecting 10, 11 wins this season. Nobody's, well, there are always the over-the-top, as they would say, pie in the sky fans that believe their team is always the best team, no matter the evidence before them, but very few. That's a small percentage. Most of the fan base, I think, that I interact with, that we see in this chat, that we get in emails or on Twitter or on the message boards at warchant.com, which if you sign up for right now, it's just $1. It's $1. What are you doing? All FSU fans, let's get after this. Warchant.com on 3, $1 1 year. Head to warchant.com to sign up. The Jeff Cameron Show every afternoon. Seminole headlines on Tuesdays. Wake up Warchant in the mornings. And then, of course, all that we have coming up for the start of football season. My goodness gracious. Dominic Robinson's already making waves. Already making waves out here, comparing Johnny Wilson to an elite all-pro receiver. So, hey, I like it. I like that you guys mastered the pick to go with the video, the astonished look.
Oh, well, because that's a genuine astonished look. There's unlike our compatriots at a different network, national network, ESPN, you know what we're all talking about, in their morning programming, I think those things are scripted. In fact, breaking news, those are scripted debates and scripted faces that they make. That was not a scripted face from me. Neither was it a script, nor was it a scripted face from Ira last night, when it was that he's a better version, that Johnny Wilson is a better version of Kelvin Benjamin. Okay. Well, I sure hope you're right, because if you are, that's the mother of all calls before it actually happened.
It'd be great.
And if you're right, they're going to win at least 8 games this year.
Yeah, well, if he's right and he becomes that from day one this year, this season, yes, all of a sudden this team is very different. I hope he's right. And I certainly don't begrudge him for having the opinion. That's fine. I'm
just not willing to go there.
Well, I don't see it, but maybe he does, and that's fine. I don't think he made it up. That's what he sees. I hope so. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, Kelvin Benjamin was only good for like 5 minutes. Kelvin Benjamin didn't try real hard almost the entirety of his time here.
I think that's part of the point.
Well, right. Kelvin didn't try real hard, didn't really like football very much, and, had to be cajoled and convinced to do something. Once he did, he made himself some money, and he won a national championship, and he was temporarily, very fleetingly, unguardable. Jameis helped him immensely, and what I mean by that is he would always get him involved. He'd throw to him in triple coverage. Like, you have to run the routes, Kelvin, because there's a chance I'm coming back to you, even if you're not the primary, even if you're not the guy, even if you're not open. Just Jameis knew enough to know that if he didn't get him the ball early in games, that he'd check out.
Because even when you're not open, you're kind of open.
Well, because you're gigantic. Johnny Wilson's big.
He is taller. That is a fact.
He's a taller man. He's not as thick, but he's taller. Anyhow, it doesn't really matter. Let's hope he is. The point is, Dominic Robinson will have analysis. He'll break down players, formations, games, quarters. It's happening in game this year. It'll happen this Saturday. It's a watch along. And we're happy to have D-Rob on board with us. Big Coop's got a show here on Warchant TV, which is awesome.
Tonight at 7:30.
There it is. Just like that.
In the coop.
It's fun to listen to Big Coop talk some football. That's good. It'll be great. That's on board as well. Pre-game show this Saturday. Myself and T. Lizzie across the board right there. We will be with you. There you see all the goodness up on your screen. Hotel Indigo is where we'll be starting at 2 o'clock live on the air. We'll take you until 4 o'clock. We get off the air. It's at that point that I have an ice-cold, tall beer at Hotel Indigo and then walk my way over to the stadium, which you can see off in the distance, and celebrate the return of Florida State football with the masses as they enter the stadium and tailgate. Meet up with my father and my 2 boys, and we cheer on our beloved Noles. You will be part of the watch along with Dominic Robinson and the post-game show, which comes on 15 minutes or so after the game ends. Gene Williams joining you there. As you can see, we're chock full of things to help inform, entertain, and embrace the return of college football, in particular Florida State football. Very exciting times. And I woke up nostalgic today. I woke up in a great mood. As I was pouring the coffee, I was thinking to myself, how about that? You dreamed a dream. You dreamt that someday you would have an opportunity as a broadcaster to cover. And at the time when I was a little kid, in my mind, covering football, covering sports, covering the thing that I was most passionate about, which was sports and music, those two things, right? That's what I love the most. I remember thinking, if you could ever get a job like that, wouldn't that be the greatest thing in the world? And then I did, and I do. And I remind myself on game week every year, like, they haven't fired me. I'm still here. I'm still doing it 20 plus years later. And I'm grateful. And I'm grateful to be covering Florida State, especially because I do think there's a chance this year that we get to see a little bit of the turning of the corner. And I've been a part of that. I've seen what that looks like, and that the optimism that comes with that, the excitement that comes with it's weird too, because I'll tell you, whether it was as a student or a little kid with my dad or all these years later in this role, I've been through the, oh my God, we're building into a juggernaut phase where you can see it, where you can look at it and you can see all the signs that portend of dominance. You're like, well, the level of talent is getting better and better and better and deeper and deeper and deeper. And now we are one of those programs. Like, this is one of those. I remember watching that happen, going from the mid 80s on into the early 90s and realizing, oh man, it's us and a handful of other teams that every year they're going to be, plastered all over your preseason mags. You were going to see, and then at that time you ended up watching Spurrier be able to do that for Florida, and you saw them rise up. Miami, the arch rival, the state-dominated college football period. Every now and then you'd look around, you'd see obviously Oklahoma, or you'd see Ohio State, or you'd see Southern Cal, but Notre Dame always was pretty persistently talked about because of who they are. But it was fascinating. In the early days of the domination of the dynasty years, of the burgeoning dynasty, the SEC really wasn't talked about all that much. Florida was in the process of changing that conference forever. Spurrier's offense was. And it changed everything about who they were. But Alabama wasn't any good, save for Gene Stallings' little short window where he won a national championship. LSU wasn't any good. Georgia was dreadfully bad. Prior to Spurrier, Florida wasn't any good. You'd have Galen Hall and Pell and those guys, nothing great. He was the one that flipped their reputation forever. So I watched all of this happen, and I just remember thinking, we're part of the halves. This is so cool. It's going to be 2 games a year that decide whether or not we win a national championship. That's it, right? So I watched it, was part of it, got to be in the stands for some of those critical moments, those historically great and or tragic moments for the dynasty years. And then later, by 99, I'm done with school. I'm in this role. I'm doing this job, right? And so we'd really never gone away. We had just remained dominant. And then the 99 national championship happens. I'm there at that game. Incredible moment. Obviously, Peter Warrick's catch, the whole deal. Knock off Virginia Tech. And then you felt like, okay, solidify. That's 2. Now you got 2. Now you got 2. Let's fast forward. I know it gets a little rocky. I was there to document that too.
And those called undergrad for me.
And those were controversial times. And I remember, and I'm just glad social media didn't exist back then. It was hard enough reading some of my emails after some of the things I had to say about where I thought that program was going. I can't imagine what it would have been like in the era of social media. I probably would have just had to block everybody. But that said, weathered that storm too. And then got to go with you to Pasadena and watch that happen, but got to see when Jimbo took over and the recruitment, quote unquote, of grown-ass men and how quickly it began to shift. And in some ways, and this is the point I'm getting to, and it's why I really hope that we get a glimmer of it starting this Saturday and on through this season. In some ways, I enjoy that process more. I enjoy, because winning national championships never gets old, is always awesome. And being there for that crescendo, for that crowning achievement is something you'll never forget. But it's not as fun, as they say, as the ride. The ride to that point is better because you can anticipate it. You can see it. You can watch the building blocks being put into place. So when, you and I were at the ACC championship, we saw where we were close, but we weren't ready.
No, but that season is one of my favorite ever.
Yeah, it's a fun season.
Because every week mattered greatly. That's the thing. When you get to the 14-year consistency and dominance that we were at, where I was a kid and I was watching those games. My sister went here, so it's not like I became a Florida State fan only through undergrad. It's been in my blood. It's been in my family for 30 years. Man, that year in 2010, every game mattered greatly. It was like the Super Bowl every week because it was about trying to find your way to become ACC champions again, trying to consistently be in the top 15 or top 10 if you could. It was about beating Miami and Florida in the same year, for crying out loud. It had not happened. Can you make this happen? Can we get over that hump? I did not see a single rivalry win at home in my 4 years at Florida State. Not a single one. The closest I came was 21-14 for Florida. That was the 2006.
And that was the beginning of us getting trounced forever because...
And in Miami, I watched Kirby Freeman beat us.
I
watched Jarman Fortson drop the ball in the end zone. That's my last crack at it. That was my last crack at a victory over an in-state rival in my undergrad experience. So that ride was amazing, and it was cathartic, and it was fun because every week mattered. When you're on a 14-year run like we were on from 88 to 2000.
A lot of weeks don't matter.
Right.
They're
like you said,
conclusions.
You've got 2 or 3 games a year that really matter. That's it.
That's it.
And the margin was so thin because there was only you had the Bowl Alliance then and then the BCS towards the end. It wasn't a playoff. You couldn't fall back and finish 4th and be okay.
No.
So,
if there had been a playoff, we'd have 7, 8, 9 national titles. It's insane. There's numerous times Florida State was easily the best team in the country at season's end.
I tend to agree. But if you look at those seasons, 10, 11, 12, and the championship year in 13, of course, 13 is my favorite. Jameis against Pitt that Monday night changed everything.
I'm in the stands with my dad, having walked through a deluge into the stadium.
Then shortly, about
wearing
6 weeks.
Earl's shirt.
That's right, Mr. Earl. I miss him.
Rest in peace, Mr. Earl.
He would enjoy this ride. I think he'd have fun with this team this year. But after 13, it wasn't the 12 season. Certainly wasn't 11.
No.
2010 is my second favorite from the point that I went to school to now.
Well,
let's have a year like 2010.
Yeah, and that is really when you begin to see, as I called it earlier, the burgeoning developments, the steps being taken, the ride that you're on. When you're not on a ride when you suck. You're in misery.
You're in line for the ride.
You are in misery. Things are happening to you that you can't do anything about. It is a helpless feeling. It's uncomfortable. You got to deal with it. And part of your maturity as a fan, to some degree as a man, is being able to handle those down times with dignity. It's pretty tough to do. You can only have sand kicked in your face so many times and look the other way. When it's prolonged, the anger subsides and apathy sets in, and that's dangerous. It's dangerous for programs. Very dangerous. Can't have that. Can't have apathy. You can have hate. You can have lust and love and hunger. Can't have hate. You can't have apathy.
That's right. A little bit of lust.
Yeah. You gotta want to win big. You gotta want to get back up, right? So when you begin to see the signs that it's happening, that there's something to this squad. There's a little what for to this bunch. They're tougher mentally and physically than they've been in years past. Getting down 13-3 in the second quarter is not a death knell. You're not thinking, oh, well, here comes the ass kicking. You're thinking, all right, let's settle down. Let's get into half. Let's make some adjustments, see what we got. Like, that can happen like it did on the back end of last season, where you're not out of games, where the fight is apparent.
Yeah, okay. So to liken it to the 2010 season again, that team would annihilate at least one player per game. You think about it.
Yeah.
It was Greg Reed. If it wasn't Greg Reed, it was Moody. If it wasn't Moody, it was Kendall Smith. If it wasn't him, it was Mike Harris. Somebody different every week.
Mike Harris.
Remember that hit, the Miami one? Yeah. The perfect wrap form? Mm-hmm. Every week, somebody would just take your life and take your soul on the field. And I love that about that team. They would screw up. They'd give up big plays over the top. There would be terrible drives where they didn't look competitive, but they kept fighting. And last year's group in November had a little bit of something to him, kind of like that. Jamie Robinson over the middle. You got to think twice. Akeem Dent, the revelation of the second half.
Waking up.
Yes, the Miami game. You're seeing receivers turtle a little bit. I loved that. It's an indication that this group defensively might have that kind of nastiness to them that like we saw in 2010. I don't know about it as much skill, but they might have that same type of nastiness to them.
Well, I certainly think they have a greater level of consistency. I think if you go read the roundtable about the defense on Warchant.com, you can read the offense one too. It's up there, Warchant.com right now. I talked about what I think they have defensively, and I talked about a guy like Tatum Bethune a lot and what I think he brings to this defense and where I think they're stronger. But I also brought up some stats about where they ranked over the last 8 games of the season. Defensively, and those advanced measures are all very, very kind to Florida State in the last 8 games. They all speak to a very high havoc rate and success rate defensively. If you look overall of where Florida State was at the end of the year, just those last 8, that's a lot of games. It's not like 3 games; it's 8 games. Florida State was top 30, and now when you add the first 4 in, they go falling off a cliff, of course, and that counts too. But what I think is that they get the opportunity to step foot on the field for game 1 where they left off. Now, they do so having lost 2 very key ingredients. Jermaine Johnson being the most obvious, Keir Thomas being the other, and the production of those 2 gentlemen is off the charts. So you will not supplant that on equal footing. You will not. You don't have to. It just can't be cataclysmic. The drop-off can't be so, I would say cavernous where you go, my God, you can't have that. They have to just be in the ballpark of average in replacing that productivity because I think they're better in a lot of other places.
Right.
And deeper at a lot of other places and more consistent.
Even if they're streaky at that position, you're consistent enough everywhere else where I think you can hold.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll bring pressures where they need to bring pressures, and I think that's going to be a big part of the equation this year.
I'm curious.
How often? Players?
We haven't been very good at disguising looks or disguise. We have to play a certain way. That is still where we're at, by the way, defensively. They are not real good at flipping what they are. They're
the best thing he does
one thing right now.
The best thing he does, Adam Fuller, schematically, is the twists up front. With the line, he can play games with that, with personnel where they line up and then some of the angles he can create. But in terms of bringing a 5th or a 6th guy, it hasn't proven. But it might be a player issue. And if you've got better players here this year or more developed players that are holdovers from last year's roster, maybe that changes the equation. And magically, he's really good at it because better dudes are on the field who are faster and have a better knack for it. We'll see.
Yeah. Welcome to game week. All jokes aside, yes, it is self-promotion. It's a company I work for. But I think we have a lot for you to help cover this team in the way of entertainment, the way of insight and intrigue. It's all there. It's $1 right now. I don't know how long the offer will stand. I mean that. I don't know. I know it is a limited time offer.
It's not like a staff vote or something that's from corporate.
Yeah, it's from corporate. So corporate anything, right? What are you going to do?
They consult with Gene, but they'll tell Gene. They're like, no, this is what we're doing.
So $1 right now. Jump on board while you can, and let's go for the ride together. It is fun, and I do think this could be that step. I do think this could be the moment where you go, all right, they're not great. They're not winning the ACC, but they're showing signs of life. They're going to have a winning season. They're going to finish in the top 25, perhaps. Like you might see something like that. Not in Duquesne. I'll be honest with you. The only thing that can really be helped in the Duquesne game is communication, substitution, personnel, getting guys in and out, on and off the field, communications in the headsets, how they interact. That kind of stuff is what these things allow you to do when the physical mismatch is this great, in my opinion. So you're not going to learn something about somebody in this game when they run past a Duquesne player, but you will help out the process, the game day process, and get that behind you going into the LSU game, which is not nothing. It's not nothing, right? But it's a reason to get excited. Football is back, obviously.
Yeah, you get to see how the operation works. Yeah. How clean is the operation run? If there's a lot of pre-snap penalties for both sides of the football, you're going to be a little bit more worried about LSU. But if it looks clean, everybody's communicating well, then you feel a little bit better about it.
It's a game 1. I mean, there are going to be things that you're like, I'm going to clean that up. But that's what these are for. So we shall see, right? Chef Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
Hi, everybody. It's Ed Dean, Florida's #1 statewide radio talk show. Now in Tallahassee, afternoon drive from 5 to 6 p.m. right here on Real Talk 93.3 FM. Yes, highly entertaining, fast-paced, never boring. We always give you the story behind the story when you catch the Ed Dean radio show. And we are ready to go. Tallahassee daily, 5 to 6 p.m. It's the Ed Dean radio show on Real Talk 93.3 FM WVFT.
A lifelong Florida farmer, Wilton Simpson, is ready to be Florida's next Commissioner of Agriculture. A devoted husband, father, and grandfather, Wilton Simpson grew up on his family's chicken farm in Trilby. One of us, Wilton shares our conservative values and, like any farmer, believes in working sun up to sun down. And Wilton's brought that same farmer's work ethic to Tallahassee as state Senate president. Simpsons fought to cut taxes for Florida families and fought for parents to have a say in their children's education. 100% pro-life, endorsed by the NRA for defending our Second Amendment rights. Wilton knows we have to crack down on illegal immigration. And Wilton Simpson has the complete and total endorsement of his friend and ally, Governor Ron DeSantis. In the Republican primary on August 23rd, vote for conservative farmer Wilton Simpson for Florida Commissioner of Agriculture. Paid political advertisement paid for by RSLC Florida IEPAC, P.O. Box 772-516, Miami, Florida 33177, independently of any candidate or committee.
Hey, Nole fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Football at El Jalisco, football at El Jalisco, what a combination. It's a great big celebration. It's football at El Jalisco. I can dig it. Who's playing? Oh, man, everybody. The ACC, the SEC, all the C's, and even the pros. The Bucks, the Steelers, the Giants, the Cowboys. Wow, far out. You bet, man. When the game is on, it's on at El Jalisco with incredible specials on everything from frosty cervezas to salty margaritas. Does Margarita know? Dios mío, not again. The best place to watch the game is El Jalisco. College, pros, Monday night, Thursday night, you name it, El Jalisco is football headquarters. And with 5 Tallahassee area locations, there's probably an El Jalisco right around the corner right now.
Every great construction project, whether it's a new addition or renovation, starts with a plan. At T-Spark, we are excited when our clients contact us to assist with that plan. Through our team of architects, draftsmen, engineers, we can help you with your project's planning and design, potentially saving costs in the long run. Whether you have a residential or commercial project, we look forward to working with you. Call us today or visit us at tsparkconstruction.com. License number CGC 1525336.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
This Friday, Libations Friday. Couple of things to point out. Lee Sterling will join us, Paramount Sports, as we get back into it. And myself, Corey Clark, we will be on Appalachian Parkway at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill and celebrating with a little happy hour. Happy hour at CP. I think it's 5 to 6. Could be 5:30, 6:30. Either way, you get the deal. You get off work. You roll on in there.
You'll be out there.
Yeah.
Meaning you, the people. You'll be out there enjoying your
Celebrating,
Friday.
getting ready, man. Getting pumped up for the season. Yeah.
Opening day eve.
Ooh.
Got to have our Guinness. Did we ever have one? We did. We did have the one at the end of last year because it was, remember, we had remarked that it was a sin that we had not had a single one on a football Friday.
I think we ended up having a few.
Right, but we checked it off the list.
We checked it off the list.
It was a
Yes,
concern that it was ever going to happen.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's going to happen this Friday.
that's right.
We're not fooling around. No pussyfooting this Friday. We're going to get right to.
Perhaps last year was the Guinness curse.
Well, no, they just sucked. But here, it won't be that. It will be. They made poor decisions at the quarterback position. They were sitting there trying to figure out if a guy who didn't have a working foot could be the starter. That's not what we do. So, we're not taking the blame for that. The Guinness, it will be. It's going to be delicious, ice cold and tall. And we will clink glasses with my father, who will be making his way into town.
That's why. If he's there, we got to have one.
Yeah, I got to tell him to get his ass in town on time. A lot of times he gets into town Fridays around 6. I'm like, what are you doing?
And then he wants to hang out till 8 or 8:30.
I'm like, no, man, it's too late. It's too late. You're retired. Get your ass in the car at noon.
This is verbatim how it sounds at CP.
Yeah.
There's 30 seconds of pleasantries. When the show's over, there's a hug. How you doing, son? I'm good. How's the drive? Good. Get your ass down here on time.
Yeah.
And so it begins like, oh,
here we go. Yeah.
I'm going to go break down.
Is it so difficult to get in?
Yep.
You don't have a job. You're retired. Get in the car.
Here I am, the fly on the wall who's wrapping up the XLR cords. This is what I listen to.
You should have been here yesterday. What the hell else you got to do? Nothing.
Could have seen your grandsons, picked them up from school.
That's what I'm saying. All right, so the depth chart came out today, and again, we alluded to this at the start of the show. This will be a short segment because I went long in the first segment for good reason. But just for those that didn't know or really weren't paying close attention, and certainly that couldn't see practices the way we did, then, I get it. If you're watching on Warchant TV, we've got the graphic for you. Good job, Director Matthew and Tom, as we have the depth chart notables. I'm just going to start at center here. Darius Washington is going to be starting at center. That has to do with Maurice Smith not being available for this first game. We do not know when Maurice Smith will be back. Now, some of you asked this question of us when the depth chart was made known. How come we haven't talked about Maurice Smith being out? Well, because we're not allowed to. Mike Norvell does not want us to discuss injury. Moreover, all we can do if a player is hurt is ask him on the record about the player. We can say, any thoughts on, and let's just say I'll use Maurice Smith for that matter. Coach, Maurice Smith, your thoughts on his camp or whatever you might say. And then if he feels like telling you that Maurice Smith's going to be out for the first game, then that's how you get that information. If he doesn't, we can't go with it because it seemed seen as a strategic hindrance. So he acknowledged that he's not playing, and that's why that's the first you know for sure that Maurice is not the starter there. We obviously know Caden Lyles was not going to be the starter. He is knocked out for the season, and that was addressed by Mike Norvell. So, it's a little unfortunate that you had two guys at the same position, one for the year lost, the other dealing with an injury right now. We don't know how long he's out. I don't know. He could be back for the LSU game. Don't know. Mike's not saying that, so we'll just have to wait and see. Darius Washington's versatility led to him being able, as he came back from an injury himself, to come in there and they could plug him at center. Thomas Schrader, in my mind, it makes perfect sense that he would be the backup center. He seemed the most consistent in the practices we were at. There are others that they will work in that spot, and this is a group that is pretty deep, meaning the offensive line. Dimitri Emmanuel getting that nod, it looks like.
Yeah, with the or designation is interesting to me.
Me too. I was kind of surprised by that, and I don't really know what to make of it. Turning-Time does not strike me as a guard.
Right. Now, they have worked him out there in the last
they
week
work
or two,
Mm-hmm.
but specifically, he's seen more reps there at guard, and that's something that Mike said today on the record, so we could bring that up. But that was a development, I'd say, I don't know, 6-7 practices ago.
Yeah.
That he started rotating in a guard.
Yeah.
Interesting that he would climb all the way to first reserve. I believe, honestly, that the backup at left guard, which is Bryson Estes, is your first man off the bench for the interior.
Without question.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter. So if Emmanuel's not available, I think 77 goes in first. Even though he's not slotted as the second team right guard, I think Estes goes in first.
Yeah, they may have been catering to the ego there.
It could be.
Who knows? I don't really care to pontificate on that. Well, I'll just tell you
And
this.
it could still develop to where that, that becomes a true competition for who's the sixth man. I mean, you never know.
Yeah. I know that, I can answer this question. Yes, Darius Washington has been practicing at center. Yes. Jason, I can answer that. The answer is yes, he has been. So he's once Maurice went down, they've been able to get Darius out there. Really, the timing couldn't have been better because Darius was just kind of working his way back into the lineup, and he's versatile, and they've been able to put him out there.
What's your assessment of what you've seen out of Darius so far? Now that the cat's out of the bag, he was always going to be a versatile offensive lineman, and we were trying to tell you that look, his versatility is going to be key sooner than later. But center is now the home for now.
I've got no problem with the physical aspects of what he'll be asked to do at center. I have to see greater consistency snapping the ball.
Yep. Fair.
I think that's my assessment.
100%.
Yeah. So he may get there.
And I'll be honest, even if he snaps the ball well against Duquesne, it's quite another thing to snap the ball across from somebody who can destroy you versus somebody that it can't.
And there happens to be a kid that can for that
right.
FSU team. Yes.
Think about one of the great examples in Florida State history. It was the 2014 FSU Clemson game, and it's a goal line play. It seems like nothing. It was a replay review about whether or not a receiver caught a touchdown from Deshaun Watson, and was it a touchdown or was it marked at the half-yard line? Next thing you know, because of the fear of an Eddie Goldman up the middle, there's a high snap.
Well, and he's got to jump. Remember, there's also there's all of it.
Instead of a short touchdown, a different numbers on the board, and that changed everything about the way that game felt in the moment. So that's the difference, that nerves of somebody who's good across from you can dictate the way you snap the football. So even if things are simpatico and look fine against Duquesne this weekend, it's still going to be a talking point for me next week. It's still going to be a talking point of nerves.
They better look fine against Duquesne. Good Lord, man. I hope you're not fretting over the nose guard at Duquesne. That would be a problem. So we'll be watching that closely. But yeah, he's talented enough and physical enough to be able to do what they need him to do, and athletic enough is the word I meant to use. Listen, in the Estes part of it, he's going to play football this year. He's going to get in games. He's too good. He's had a great camp. I've really been impressed with him. I've talked about it a lot. He has earned the right to be that first guy off the bench, in my estimation, my opinion. Now, of course, depends on what's needed, but I believe he's a guy that is very talented.
Yeah,
and
either guard
going to
position.
get better. Either guard position, and I think in a pinch he can play center too.
In a pinch, I think Schrader. I think
Schrader's
the depth chart is correct.
That depth chart is correct.
Yeah.
All right, let's pull it back up there as we look at this. Nothing else really stands out. Micah Pittman, not shocking, is
he's one half of the kick returns. We know he's a punt returner. There's no or with the punt returners, but on the kick returns, we talked about Deuce Spann. That's something that we were able to talk about because it was during observable parts of practice. But it's Deuce Spann or Sam McCall on one side and Micah Pittman on the other. That's at least how the depth chart has it listed. Interesting, but also explosive.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I really hope Deuce Spann catches the first kickoff. I want to watch him. He's an explosive player. We got to be better than we were a year ago. So if we are going to return it, I need a guy that can get past the 25 in a hurry. Let's make it worth your while. We shall see. Defensively, I think we're going to continue to see a lot of oars just because of the down and distance type stuff. And so, not surprised there to see Derek McClendon. I think that this depth chart is exactly what I thought it would be.
Yeah, I think the one thing to clean up is probably related to the defensive front. I think they're going to be multiple.
Well, they are going to be multiple. That's why
If you look and you see it would read, if you just look at the depth chart by itself, that Dennis Briggs isn't a fixed starter and there's going to be a rotation on the other side. Sometimes that's going to be the case. But, I mean, they're going to be multiple based on down and distance. Cooper and Lovett aren't going to be out there on 3rd and 17.
No, Dennis Briggs will do.
Right. But then you could put McClendon
you
and
could
Verse
do a
out
lot
there
of things.
together. You could put
Well,
Peyton out there, who had a good camp
You
as
can
well.
Amari Gaynor out there. You can do a lot of
Yes,
different things.
yes.
You move guys all over the place.
Ditto for 2nd and 9,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
ditto for 3rd and 2. You might want Warner out there on the other side from Briggs. I mean, they're going to be multiple there, so I wouldn't get too nervous that you don't see Jared Verse's name listed atop of McClendon's name. I don't think that's representative of what the snap count's going to show.
Good for Renardo Green. I mean, he held it down. He did. And you know what, to see him, we'll watch closely how that develops. But I got to give him credit. If you go all the way back to spring, you go to where we are now, you would not have guessed going into spring that Renardo Green was going to be on this team, let alone start.
Yeah, it was, and I mean this not in a bad way, but it's going to sound bad. It was cute that he had the black jersey on during the tour of duty. You're like, oh, good for him.
Yeah.
He's giving effort.
He's trying hard.
Because that's the max effort color for that particular part of the offseason. Like, wow, max effort from Menard. I'm glad to see he's still invested. That's nice. I don't know what it's going to materialize in. Probably not much of anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then you watch spring practice 2 weeks in. You say,
he could
be the guy.
They can't get him out of there.
He might be the guy.
They can't get him out of there. Yeah. So good for him. It's Jeff Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
The Quincy Police Department announced Sunday that it is investigating a death. At 1:46 a.m. Sunday, QPD had received a call of gunshots in the area of U.S. Highway 90 and South Jackson Street. When QPD personnel arrived, they discovered a black four-door sedan had been hit by multiple bullets, and a man was on the ground next to the vehicle. The victim was transported to a hospital where he was pronounced deceased. QPD has identified persons of interest in relation to the incident. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Quincy Police Department at 850-627-7111. Data from the flu season that's wrapping up in the southern hemisphere has doctors preparing for what could be a bad one. Australia is seeing its worst flu season in 5 years. Doctors are watching who is getting infected. Children's ages 5 to 9 have been the most affected. Flu shots are already available at some pharmacies, but there's a debate over if it's too soon to receive one yet. Typically, people wait until September or October. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Scattered thunderstorms likely this afternoon. Otherwise, cloudy skies expected. Highs level off around 87. Winds out the west around 5 miles per hour. Scattered thunderstorms likely tonight. Lows level off around 72. Cloudy skies expected. Overcast tomorrow. Scattered thunderstorms likely. Highs level off around 86. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 89.
This is Kyle, service manager from Barano Heating and Air. Schedule an appointment from your mobile device to learn about our Total Comfort Service Program. With guaranteed same-day service, 15% off necessary repairs, and $25 berry bucks to use towards air filters and other products. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air. Any day, anytime, anywhere. Online at baranoac.com.
Florida license CAC 1816-186.
Well. Hey, Jeff, look at this place.
Yeah. Well, doing well. It's been a while since I've seen you, brother, but, it hasn't been a while since I've been over to Gordo's. I go there on the regular because of you, Eddie.
Well, we keep you regular.
Well, that's true, but I think of Gordo's as a place to sit down, have a cold beer, talk to your friends, enjoy the sports, eat the delicious food. But I think of you as Uncle Eddie, a man who takes care of his people and takes care of the town.
I appreciate that, Jeff. Hey, and we'll keep you regular.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Here's what you missed on the Greg Tish Show.
We need to have history. We need to have literature. It deserves an explanation. We don't need to be promoting lifestyles that come into play for your average elementary school.
Well, I had an experience with this. When my daughter was in school, her teacher gave her a book to read, but then she asked me what the C word is.
That was in the book.
That was in the book.
Okay, so talking about the C word. So you're talking about conservatives, right?
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3. The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Georgia, for example, having lost 15 players to the NFL draft. Whew! That's where you want to be in recruiting, folks. That you're talking about how do we replenish the 15 draft picks that we lost. Good thing you won the national championship, Kirby. That would have been a bad look. That would have been a tough one. 15 people drafted in the NFL. I mean, come on. That's insane. Anyhow, I bring it up because I'm looking big picture here at the start of the season, start of another college football season. You're damn right it is. They are plus 400 to win the college football playoff. And they are behind two teams, and you can name them easily without looking. Alabama, plus 175, Ohio State, plus 300. So that's not surprising at all. The real intrigue is who's number 4? Who's the 4th team that's going to find their way in there? College football needs it to be a surprise, I think. They need a Utah or somebody like it. They need something other than, say, Clemson.
Well, the worst thing that could happen is Utah stumbling out the gates in Gainesville for a lot of reasons for us.
Well, yeah, and they could. That's a first game of the year. I got to imagine it's going to be hotter than Hades. That's not a talentless roster at Florida. They'll be sky high. That'll be a loud environment. Utah is a nice story that I've made money on over the last couple of years, but they're still Utah now. I'm not losing perspective. This isn't like a team that's stockpiled talent the way the SEC clubs do. Their starters are good. Utah starters are good. And Cam Rising's a really good player. And it certainly helps if you're going to pull off a big win early in the year on the road against an SEC team. You better have a quarterback you trust, and I think they do. So that game, which we've talked about a lot this offseason, is very fascinating. And probably one of the most exciting games that I can look at the ledger there early in the season. And just because I don't know who's going to win that game. And I like the game. It's just a fun matchup. Utah is extremely well coached. Kyle Whittingham does a great job every year. They've got a good quarterback. They're deep on the offensive line. They've got a stud running back. Obviously they won the Pac-12 a year ago.
And in a weird way, there's more pressure on Florida, home opener, new coach.
Oh, yeah.
So even though you're the better team and you would think there's pressure on you not to lose your spot in the standings, Florida's going to be feeling it running out of that tunnel for the first time.
Yeah, let that be 14-14 in the third. And we're all going, oh, what do we got here? All right. I think it has a chance to be kind of a slobber knocker like that. By the way, Bryce Young, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, is right there amongst the favorites to win the Heisman, as you might guess. So is C.J. Stroud, quarterback, Ohio State. This is, to me, where I think it can get interesting is if you want to make any money here, take the 20-1 odds, Travion Henderson, the running back at Ohio State, who I like a lot. And we watched him a year ago. He's a stud. If you're just trying to find value there, it's not bad. I'm not going to take a defensive player, so Will Anderson's off the board for me. I guess if you really want to go, again, down the charts here, you could look at if you think Florida's going to come out the box and have a great year in year one with Billy Napier, Anthony Richardson's also 20+1.
Yeah, you could take a risk on somebody like a Bijan Robinson if Texas were to win 9 or 10 games too, just because I think
they'll feature him, and he's a great player.
And the media would be apt to vote for somebody in that uniform. It matters. If somebody does that at Minnesota, it's different than if they do it at Texas. Just the brand matters for voting in that particular type of award. And then somebody like a Jahmyr Gibbs too, if he were to emerge for Alabama and become the front man of that number 1 team or number 2 team as they're entering the playoff, that's a guy who, again, if you're just looking for value, not a favorite, but value, that could be a player.
Yeah, and a guy that is doesn't hold as much value, but you're going to do better than if you took, Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. Caleb Williams, going out in that offense at Southern Cal, they're going to throw it around the lot, and we know.
Another guy that the media would be apt to vote for. You'd have a whole time zone to yourself in terms of media votes.
Everybody's going to see his games. There's no doubt about that. Player that's on our depth chart returning. I'm just looking big picture stuff there, by the way. Going back here, a guy that's not a starter that you think will be by season's end. We were asked that question in the defensive roundtable. Player that we think we're going to be talking about. I think we all voted Zaire Thomas, right?
Yeah, that was specifically to freshmen, that question. That might actually be the answer too.
I think it probably is by the middle of the season.
If you want to be technical, you can say because Jared Verse is on the second line of the depth chart in an or category. you could argue and say that that's your easy one. That's your cheapie to pick.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to be a little bit more risky, yeah, I think Azarie might be the guy. I mean, even Johnny Wilson's on the second line. Trey Benson's on the second line on the offensive side.
Yeah, and again, they're going to share carries. All those guys are going to share carries. So,
yeah,
I mean, that is, and one of them will emerge or they'll ride the hot hand. You were right to point out, and I've loved the camp that he had. Joshua Farmer was so good this year, so good in camp, and he's going to make a splash there. So it's good to have candidates. It's just good to have candidates. I mean, that was part of the fun of sitting there writing down this list and doing the things that we did for Warchant.com last night and over the weekend. As I was looking at that, I thought a year ago, if you'd asked me this, I would have been hard pressed to find anybody that wasn't a starter. You know, who would I have grabbed? Who would I have said, well,
that's why yesterday I got my promo on in the morning. I said, man, these roundtables are fun because I can't wait to read what you guys have to say. I know what I'm saying. I was a part of both of them, but I'm like, I wonder what they think. We talk every day in practice, but it's different than reflecting on something and writing about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good feature.
Warchant.com. There you go. Go find it. Go grab it. It's pretty straightforward. It's also not surprising to see us all gush over Azarie Thomas. It's cool to have a guy like that on the roster who's that young. We didn't have one of those guys recently. Hour number 2, forthcoming. Stay with us.
Care of families since 1945.
Experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best, like Widden's top-of-the-line bath enclosures. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Widden Glass, and they provide precise installation.
Widden Glass, Tallahassee's first family in glass. Online at widdenglass.com. Call 850-222-5781.
For many in the workforce, their goal is to climb the company ladder. Often the climb requires a move to another city, and that's especially true in our industry. I'm Jay of Paul's Termite and Pest Control. If you rise the ranks of our competitors, there's a good chance moving up means moving away. Why? Because they're not local companies. They're from places like Orlando, Atlanta, Salt Lake City, and even Europe. That's certainly not the case with our employees. We're a company that was founded in the Big Bend and remains locally owned. When Paul's Termite and Pest Control employees advance, they remain in the Tallahassee area. Don't trust the safety of your family and pets from disease-carrying pests or the structure of your biggest investment from termites to people who may be here today and gone tomorrow. Trust Paul's Termite and Pest Control, a company that has serviced thousands of our neighbors right here for over 50 years. Being local really does matter in our industry because local problems require local solutions. Paul's Termite and Pest Control are the Big Bend's local experts for the elimination of termites or any other pest, and a greener lawn too. Call Paul's. We'll get them all.
So let's say you're considering buying a new home in the current climate. All heard that demand is high, inventory is low. So how do you get a leg up on the rest of the buyers all making offers on the same house as you? Oh, that's a toughie. But the first place I'd suggest you start is with a call to my friend Shannon at Legendary Home Loans. Shannon will set you up with a complete pre-approval underwriting. This used to be an upgrade, but nowadays it's got to be standard. You want to get your offer on a new home pushed to the front of the line, you need a TBD full underwriting approval from Legendary Home Loans. You'll shorten or even remove your financing contingency, and the sellers will know that your offer is real and ready to go. It's tough out there these days, folks, so why not have the advantage of a proven winning team in your huddle? Get pre-approval underwriting from my friend Shannon with the one and only Legendary Home Loans. Call now, 844-FSU-LOAN, 844-FSU-LOAN, or just visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
Equal housing lender. NMLS number 2270146.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show, live and local on Real Talk 93.3.
How it became a thing?
The middle finger in general?
Yeah, no, giving someone the middle finger.
You know this?
I think so. I'm going to get the countries wrong and the time
So
wrong.
you don't
Other
know
than
it.
that,
You don't know it.
he's got this locked.
When it happened and where, I
Yeah.
don't know.
I
So
think-
maybe the how?
I think Britain's in a war with France sometime 300 years ago. And what they would do with French soldiers when they captured them was cut off their middle fingers so they couldn't use the bows to shoot, because that's how they shot people back then, was with bow and arrows. And so if you took the middle finger away,
I got to tell
you couldn't do it. So when the French beat the British in a battle or something, they all showed them, hey, we still got our middle fingers. And that's how it.
So by the way,
I'm gonna look this up during the break.
I might be 100% wrong.
But I want to
just made that up.
I want to note something. If in fact that's not true, that is the greatest and most plausible explanation for something that you could completely make up.
Yeah.
And have us buy into that I've ever heard.
I might have dreamed it. I don't know where that came from.
100% accurate. Kevin writes, what's more likely, Corey's story about French soldiers lopping off middle fingers or Destin Hill playing for
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good
I'm gonna go with
point.
your story.
Yeah, I like your story.
Yeah, what if Destin Hill shows
I think
up?
it's accurate. I don't
If
know.
he does, he should give you the bird.
Who would make that up?
Yeah, nobody would make that up. It's certainly.
Oh, there's all kinds of stuff
It's a
that are made up.
reasonable explanation because it doesn't make sense otherwise. What does your middle finger have to do with saying "f you" to someone?
Somebody's arguing that they may have traced this all the way back to ancient Greece.
That's what I said. It was England against ancient Greece. What did you hear? Because that's what I said.
Something about France.
No, I don't know. Who knows? It's somewhere over
My
there.
favorite people are the people that still make up stuff and BS, even in the age of Google.
Yeah, you can Google it.
Back in the day,
seconds, yeah.
back in the day, people
Arguments
could
went
lie.
on for years.
Oh, and people could just make
Years.
stuff
Yeah.
up and lie and whatever. But now we have Google. You stop.
Yeah,
Go
I got
back.
into a big argument at a Braves game talking about the Mets Red Sox '86 because my buddy swore that if Buckner fields the ball, they win the game.
No, that's not
And I'm
true.
like, no, it was tied. He
It
goes,
was tied.
no, it wasn't. I promise you. And I'm like, I promise you, you're wrong. But it was 1991.
And
We
you
couldn't look it up.
There's no internet.
I remember I was in college and Life Cereal put out a cereal
Oh, and
box
Mikey.
with Mikey on it.
And they said he was dead.
But for years, we always thought he was dead. I
Yeah.
thought he was dead from the time I was
He's
like 10
fine.
until
He's middle-aged,
they put him on
living
the
in
cereal
Ireland.
box. And it's
Yeah,
like,
they
what?
said he died from eating Pop Rocks
Pop
and
Rocks
drinking
and
a
Coke.
Coke.
Yes.
But
Crazy how that
everybody
stuff-
knew
Nobody
that.
could look any of this stuff up. That
Yeah.
was a universal belief.
Everybody-
Every kid, you could take a kid from Oregon and talk to a kid from Pennsylvania, but oh, Mikey, that's terrible.
Yeah, and Richard, and
That's
you've heard about
awful.
Richard Gere, right?
Yeah.
Like, how did
The
those things
wor-
start?
The world was a better
There wasn't-
place.
The
it
Rod
wasn't viral.
Stewart one.
Yeah, but it
Well,
wasn't.
I mean, the Rod Stewart one. We can't repeat.
These
but
are all
that
these are
was
all
insane.
different
Richard
level
Gere too, but
Yes.
it's like
Yeah.
you hear these and you're like,
Yeah.
how did y'all hear it? Like, how does that stuff spread? It
I
doesn't
remember
make any
being way
sense.
too young for somebody to tell me the Rod Stewart story.
Yeah,
So what
yeah.
are we? What?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
That's
It sounds plausible.
That's crazy.
I think if you Google it today, the FBI will show up at your house.
Advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future. We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And yes, I too woke up in a celebratory mood. Don't forget, this weekend we'll be at Hotel Indigo for the pregame show. Our thanks to Zaxby's for that pregame, postgame, no game at all. Well, there is a game this time. Anytime is the right time for Zaxby's platters. As long as you're hungry, feed your team with your choice of traditional or buffalo fingers. You can get the boneless or traditional wings, and you can get that sampler platter that Tom and I like so much because that feeds a lot of people.
Yeah, we crushed that last year.
We did. Order online or in the app. Tallahassee Zaxby's, a proud Golden Chief booster for 17 years. Go Noles. Good to read that again, right? Good to bring that back. We thank Zaxby's for sponsoring. And we thank you in advance for heading on over to Hotel Indigo on game day. We'll be up top overlooking the mass of humanity, tailgating, celebrating the return, celebrating their love for one another, their friends, their family, their cohorts, and all the goodness that comes with football on a Saturday afternoon at Doak Campbell Stadium, Bobby Bowden Field, and the start of a new college football season. It's just fun to say aloud. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep doing it. I'll pinch myself every hour.
Up there, it's the right blend of cool and relaxing, plus not removed from the energy of the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like about that deck. It's got a little bit of both, but if you're a person who likes a little bit more space to just hang out and see things rather than be in the middle of it like we all were in our 20s and late teens,
yeah,
it's the spot for you. So we look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
I was just reading something during the break just to do it because, you're kicking around finding new information wherever you can. And in the Atlantic, the fine folks over at CBS, and, you go site to site to site to site. I did ESPN. I did the The Atlantic Division is
it's very highbrow breakdown right there.
No, the Atlantic Division is was what I was saying.
You meant the Athletic.
No,
yeah,
the Athletic, yeah. The predicted order of finish there. No, but none of the guys at CBS have us in the top 3 in the Atlantic.
Well, screw them.
I don't care. None of them do. So when I was talking about perhaps being on the precipice of something of a shift in expectations and perhaps believing that this first step forward towards respectability starts this year, this weekend, this Saturday, starts now, where we've been devoid of that, where we've been hurting for some time. Maybe you get a little surprise there. Not surprisingly, Clemson, NC State is universally agreed upon. I mean, everywhere you look at, that seems to be the order. Then from there is where the debates begin. But the debates begin between Wake Forest and Louisville, not Florida State, which I find fascinating. And then there's Florida State. Then we enter the picture. And understandably, most people have Syracuse and Boston College down at the bottom. But there we sit, Tom, in the eyes of the many, covering this league, covering college football, as at best, 4th place finish in the Atlantic. Well, that won't go over well, sir.
It's also what the pundits think. We're going to be 55th overall in the country.
Oh, it's the coaches' poll.
That's right.
Coaches' poll had us 55th.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're 4th in the Atlantic, that's about right. That's where you'd be. I have a suspicion we're going to best both those numbers. Better than 55th, Tom. And I think that we're better than 4th in the Atlantic. I think we're 3rd in the Atlantic.
We will rise higher in the coaches' poll.
Goodness. I think did you see? Come on. I couldn't help it. In the grand tradition,
the coaches' poll,
childlike behavior, I did. Justin Leonard. I posted that this weekend. I mean, come on, my man. Screams it too is my favorite part about it. It's like, sir.
Problem is, you have to go get that audio and play it. You can't really relay it. It just doesn't
I'm not
have
going
the
to
same.
relay. Yeah.
You could just, in Twitter, search Justin Leonard.
Well, I mean, go.
Pop up.
Yeah. I posted it on my Instagram or whatever it was this
It's like
weekend.
Dan Hicks.
Because I was laughing my ass off.
Dan Hicks years ago called Davis Love the third. Davis Love the turd. And he panicked.
Oh, man. Well, that said, there was other news that should be pointed out here, and this came out yesterday. Did you see where John Emery has been suspended? He's supposed to
win.
Yeah. LSU running back John Emery suspended for the first 2 games of the 2022 season. He's planning an appeal to that ban, but they have that marquee showdown with a team called Florida State, and he's not going to be allowed to play in it as of right now.
Yeah, he's a part of the rotation. So it would be like us losing Rodney Hill, maybe?
Oh, I don't
Or
know. I think he's
Toafili? Maybe
yeah,
Toafili.
yeah. It feels like them losing
Yeah.
Toafili. Yeah, that's fine. Diminishing weapons is a good
Yeah,
thing. You want to strike from the record any other players that are difference makers for LSU? Go right ahead. Please do.
By God.
It'd be a nice turn of events. Speaking of LSU, I'm going to be doing an interview tomorrow, Tom, and we're going to be able to hear that, right? We'll be posting that Wednesday or doing
Wednesday. We're going to run it on the show Wednesday, but you're talking with Matt Moscano from ESPN Baton Rouge in New Orleans, and he's one of the folks that covers LSU down to a T. He had a chart of every play in the scrimmage that was open to the press last week. And he went through it play by play on the air, which I thought that's one way to break down the scrimmage, but man, those Creoles, they want the numbers.
Good for Matt, and he's actually good at what he does, so that's fine. I'm looking forward to talking to him, and we'll get into the nuts and bolts of what LSU's been this camp and what their expectations are. I did talk to an LSU guy just on the side who I've known for a long, long time. He's an LSU graduate and keeps close tabs on his Tigers, and we were talking a little bit about it, and he was saying that his folks in Baton Rouge, they all believe, and I talked about this with us at the start of the show. This is the week. I mean, games start back up. You are, even if you're, extremely pessimistic, you're going to have a measure of belief that hits you this week. Hard to go into a season without any hope whatsoever. So it's not surprising the program with the talent that LSU has on its roster. And anybody who's being objective about Ed Orgeron at the end of his time at LSU, well, they would look at that and say this was an unmitigated disaster. He had lost the locker room. There was controversies off the field. There were rumors constantly swirling, coaches fighting with one another, players kind of picking and choosing which Saturday they decide to give effort, guys looking, beyond the current day. They're looking at their horizons. They're thinking about.
They weren't trying to get 1% better every day.
No.
They weren't trying to climb.
They weren't trying to climb at all. They were trying to get the hell up out of Baton Rouge, where things had gone to hell in a handbasket in a hurry, and Ed O was largely responsible for that. Hence, he's fired. So if you're a fan of LSU and you bring in a coach in Brian Kelly who's successful and is going to demand discipline and focus and day-to-day improvement, and right the ship quickly just by having some of that toxicity removed, then you believe that LSU could be the surprise team of the SEC. It's not a crazy prediction. It's not a crazy prediction that they'll be a much better football team. Now, they're in the West, and damn it, man. I mean, you could be really good and finish fourth in the West. So,
fourth in the West might not land you 55th in the coaches poll.
Might not.
It could be 32nd.
Yeah. So it's tough, right? I mean, we get the deal there, but at the same time, I don't know. We'll talk to Matt about this, but how quickly can they get there? Again, we get back to the keys of being able to play LSU this early in the season. I would not want to play them when, let's say, week 6, week 7, because I do think they're going to be much better when they get into the middle of the season. There's talent there, and they could be very good very early too. That's why they are kind of an intriguing team. They're one of 5 or 6 teams that you kind of look at and you go, we're one of those 5 or 6 teams. That's why the matchup is awesome. You talk to somebody who's just looking at the national picture and say, name 10 teams that you I just don't know. There's a feeling that they're getting better. This could be the year they take the big step forward. Well, you're going to get a bunch of people who are going to say Florida State, a bunch of people that are going to say LSU is probably better than we realize. Bunch of people believe it's Miami's time to win the Coastal and rise up and have a great season under Cristobal. But, you could probably go through the Power 5 conferences, and there's always a team that somebody thinks if it's not this year, it's next. And,
USC.
I don't think it's Southern Cal this year, but a lot of people do. They think that he can change them that quickly.
And I don't think the pack is that easy that the path is easier for him to climb back, and maybe he could fake it this year and then next year really make it.
Yeah, I think Lincoln Riley will do a fine job out there, and they've got money and they care and they're dedicated and they're getting kids, and obviously they're going to be a problem here real soon. If you're Oregon and you're Phil Knight, before you kick the bucket, your goal is to win a national championship. This is what he's been hoping to do. And they've recruited really well, partly because of that NIL and because they want to win. He wants to win. But you better do it really quickly. I mean, that long run that you had, which did not turn into a national championship, a couple of close calls. If you don't get it soon, you're not going to get it because Southern Cal still has far more cachet. And if they're invested in the same way you're invested, they're going to win because they're in Los Angeles.
The bamboo offense is going to do it, though, buddy. Kenny's bamboo. Here it comes.
Oh,
Look
man.
out. Bamboo grows better in
I forgot about
Eugene than it does Tallahassee. That's a fact.
I always forgot about that.
It's probably willfully that you forgot about that.
I suppressed it. I put it way down. I guess at the end of the day, we could both be the surprise team, and then what a war we'll have in New Orleans.
It's not a battle for one team. There's a surprise category. And then think about the hype for next year. If they're both surprise teams, then you've got a rematch in Orlando. Now the hype is real around the national media. It's not a local thing. It's a regional thing, a national thing.
And they'll think about moving the game to a much better city than Orlando.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great? I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy you getting to be in New Orleans for the first time.
Me too. That makes two of us.
And we've got some really good plans right out the gates. I will not pick Oregon, by the way, because it was noted that that's right. Bo Nix is there, isn't he?
I believe that's correct.
Well, you know how I feel about that, buddy. There's two quarterbacks. One that is no longer, thank God, at Nebraska. That pained me to watch. Bo Nix was the other.
Bo Nix should have gone to Nebraska. Wouldn't that have been a fit?
Those poor people. No. And I would have had to host shows over there and been like, listen, guys, I'm not going to lie to you. I just don't see it. Who's this guy? Why is he talking to us? That would have been devastating.
What if Adrian Martinez is a guest on one of your shows this year? How's that going to go?
I'll be professional. Adrian, you're 22nd to playing
Bo
college
Nix is at
football.
Kansas State, apparently.
Oh. Well, why did we think he was at Oregon?
I don't know. I just went with it. You know more about the national.
I don't know, but I know. I
than
didn't
I
know,
do these
I didn't know
days.
where he went. I didn't know where he went.
I'm a hyper-focused guy now. You want to know about the 3 deep? I'll tell you about the 3 deep.
I'm going to tell you about $1.
Oh, Martinez,
Martinez
is at
Kansas
It's director.
State.
You got to be more clear,
Get it
man.
together.
Come on now.
Bo is at Oregon.
Yeah.
It's a buck. It's a buck. $1. Warchant.com on 3. $1 for 1 year. Pre-game show, in-game show, post-game show, Jeff Cameron show, Wake Up Warchant, Libations Friday happy hour, Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
Yep.
Big Coop tonight.
Got your columns, your round tables, your
Get
weekly
about
features.
it. Yeah.
We're loaded up.
For $1.
For a year. It's not, I mean, $1 a day would be a deal.
It would be. I think soon we need to charge them $5 a day.
Mm-hmm. It's like security systems for less than $1 a day.
That's what you need to do. If you're hearing this right now and you or someone you know is active military, a veteran, police officer, firefighter, nurse, or a teacher, listen up. Good times. My friend Shannon with Legendary Home Loans, he's got to be in such a good mood, right? He is a massive Florida State fan and alumnus. He's going to be in town for the game.
Bo Nix is not his
I
quarterback.
have to share a beer with him this weekend. It'll be great. Shannon with Legendary Home Loans has a hometown hero loan program designed to make a difference. And that's for those of you that make a difference. You get to save $1,600 right out the gates. He'll waive all lender fees for all hometown heroes. And if you decide to use their preferred title company for the closing, you'll save another $600. That's $2,200 in savings. Yes, that's a good thing. So it's important to save money right now. Obviously, it's important anytime, but that you can do so. If you're active military, a veteran, police officer, firefighter, nurse, or a school teacher looking to buy a new home, choose Shannon Young with Legendary Home Loans. Ask about their Hometown Heroes program. Call 844-FSU-LOAN. That's 844-FSU-LOAN. Or visit FSUHomeLoans.com. That's FSUHomeLoans.com.
Before we go to break, can I ask you a quick question? Don't look at the screen. Have you already looked at it?
No, I was studying this piece of paper.
Okay, cool. Who would you rather have leading your college football offense this year? Adrian Martinez
Well, the answer
or
is no.
Pedro Martinez?
Pedro's ancient and really slight. I would probably take Adrian Martinez, and it's tough, but I think I
Be
would.
pretty close, I bet. You get Pedro in shape.
It was always amazing.
Right
that
now he looks like
Pedro-
Fat Jameis.
Oh, I know. I like that Pedro Martinez is enjoying the spoils of his. Jameis is in shape now. You can't
He
do
is,
that.
I know.
He's lean.
For the off season, now that we're in season, it's not time. But
Yeah.
maybe this Friday, I'll get a photo comparison of current Pedro and Chunky Jameis because the
man.
goatee looks the same.
Yeah.
They've got the same goatee and the 3 necks.
Chunky James is also about a foot taller than Pedro
That's
Martinez.
true. True.
It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
You were always more than my mom. You were my role model, my best friend, and biggest supporter. You filled my days with unconditional love. And you also prepared for the day when you couldn't be here. Because of the woman you were back then, I'm able to be the woman I am now. Your planning made this moment possible.
Set your family up for life. Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance. Your friends for life.
This is Andy Cohen. When I was a law enforcement officer, I devoted my life to a career of service and protection. Who's protecting you? Give me a call. 850-671-FARM. That's 671-FARM. Helping you is what we do best.
Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, Jackson, Mississippi. Not licensed to do business in all 50 states.
Football at El Jalisco, football at El Jalisco, what a combination. It's a great big celebration. It's football at El Jalisco. I can dig it. Who's playing? Oh, man, everybody. The ACC, the SEC, all the C's, and even the pros. The Bucks, the Steelers, the Giants, the Cowboys. Wow, far out. You bet, man. When the game is on, it's on at El Jalisco with incredible specials on everything from frosty cervezas to salty margaritas. Does Margarita know? Dios mío, not again. The best place to watch the game is El Jalisco. College, pros, Monday night, Thursday night, you name it, El Jalisco is football headquarters. And with 5 Tallahassee area locations, there's probably an El Jalisco right around the corner right now.
Every day, Sellers makes life a little better for homeowners, helping them find the best design ideas for their homes with the best quality tile, carpet, and hardwood flooring. Even mosaics, ceramic, and vinyl solutions are at their fingertips in their remarkable showroom. Maybe it's time for you to get the Sellers Advantage for your home or office. Find them on Capitol Circle Northeast, just north of Mahan Drive, or online at sellerstile.com. For style, quality, and design, get the Sellers Advantage. In Tallahassee, call 656-8453.
Tallahassee's 30-year-old funny paper and American Legion Post 13 have joined forces to become Major Morale. The new magazine has 4 more pages of post activities and military information that you probably never knew. But don't worry, it's still as politically correct and newsworthy as always. Okay, it's the same funny stuff, but it's still only available at the sponsors' locations like ABC Flooring, Tallahassee Automobile Museum, Krispy Kreme, or Keith Lawson Services, providing professional services and maintenance for your home's most critical systems for over 39 years. If you need air conditioning, heating, or plumbing repairs, you will receive an upfront written quote, and the job will be done on time by the area's most advanced, highly trained professionals. Keith Lawson Services, Florida license CMC 125456 and CFC 1429197.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
say I'm excited to bring him on, but real excited to bring him on. Pumped about football just as we all are. It's that time. Hey, it's the heavy season. Another reminder, during the heavy season, it's easy to let things get loose. Happens all the time.
Got to build the habits now,
Well,
today.
I'm never as good at it as Tom Wang. He really does a good job of locking it down. Your discipline is fantastic. I tend to engage too much in the football season partaking.
It wasn't in August, but it's going to be now.
That just depends on the week's worth of games.
Bet your bottom dollar.
Yes. But if you want to ensure that you can have as much fun as you want to have during football season, then you got to offset it with some activity. And I would suggest Orange Theory Fitness, 2 locations in town, one Midtown, one Northside. That's right. First class is always free. And then your first month is free with the purchase of a heart rate monitor. Get after it if you're a new member. Come on, get that advantage. Get that money-saving promotion working for you. Keep yourself at least even, right? Then by the end of the year, you're going to love it. And you say to yourself, oh, man, I'm going to make real gains now the football season's over. Science-backed, proven to work, and fun. I like it. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
2 locations. Orange Theory Fitness.
When you take the peanuts and you put them in the Diet Coke.
Drop them in.
Yeah, I like them.
I like it. That was a moment. And we had the sound forevermore. But it was one of the things delivered by football season, and that's what you get now. Constant talk of what teams will or will not be and giddiness. I haven't finished the last of my preseason mags yet. I actually did the purchasing. I'm the last one.
So what are they, half price now? They're like,
Well,
oh,
no,
these things.
I went into Books A Million to grab a different book, and then I passed the stand there, and they had them, and I was like, oh, for old time's sakes, I'm going to grab 3 of these and just put them on my coffee table. And during moments of boredom, kind of leaf through these. And my wife said, the internet exists. You don't have to do that. I'm like, I know, but it's not the same. I want it to be tangible. I still like to,
it's important.
It is.
Even when you take your notes for the show, you print them out, you have them. So you can put notes on them and stuff.
Well, you do. You want to write, little things in the categories to the side. And I do that. I do that all the time. Absolutely, I do. There he is. I see him in the waiting room. There's my man. Let's bring him in. Warchant.com. It's that time. It is time to talk Florida State football. No real surprises, Ira, right? When you looked at the depth chart released today, I don't think no real surprises to me.
No big surprises. I do think I was a little bit surprised, not surprised, I guess, but just the fact that they went ahead and were pretty transparent about the fact that Tatum Bethune is starting over Amari Gaynor. Amari Gaynor is a guy who has played now for, this will be his 4th year playing on the field. He's been one of their top tacklers for 3 seasons. I mean, I think Amari's the guy when they go with 3 linebackers, he'll be in the. So I kind of wondered if maybe they would at least do that to give him the respect of putting him on the depth chart, going with the 3 spots. But overall, nothing really crazy. Renardo Green, I think that was a really good battle. Him and Jarian Jones at one of those cornerback spots. I think, seeing Marquiston Douglas is a starting tight end. They did go with 2 tight ends on that depth chart. So you got to see him and Cam McDonald. And we've been seeing Marquiston having a good camp, but to see them reward him with a projected starting assignment, I think is a positive. So, but a lot of it was probably what we expected.
Yeah, we've been asked a lot now that Mike Norvell addressed it with Maurice Smith not being available for the game this week, and the Darius Washington moved to center. We know his versatility. They've talked about it quite a bit. Now we know he's starting at center. People wanted to get a sense of what we thought of his work and how much he's been able to rep at center. And I did say that obviously now that the cat's out of the bag, he has been getting plenty of work at center. And I think physically, I've got no problem with him there. I think that he can do what's going to be asked of him in this offense. It's just a matter of finding consistency with the snaps. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and I think from what we've seen, we've seen improvement. And I think that's something that is it's repetition. The act of snapping the ball isn't that difficult. They can do that. Almost all those guys can do it. The question is how you do it when you've got a 320-pound nose guard lined up over you. And that's the part that we don't know, and we probably won't know until the LSU game if he's the guy or Maurice Smith is back. But that to me is, that's the big question, is how they handle it during the course of a game when they get fatigued And maybe when they're having a tough time with an assignment, say, hey, this play calls me to get to a certain spot after I snap it, and that defensive tackle is really quick. I don't know if I can get to that spot before, and then that's when you start to see some slippage during games, and that's going to be something we have to see. Darius has played a ton of football. He's played a lot of tackle. He's played some guard. So we don't think the moment's going to be too big for him. That's a real plus. But yeah, how you handle it when you've got a guy, I remember Kendall Briles when he was here, and he talked about when Marvin Wilson's across the line blowing snot bubbles at you. How are you going to handle it then? And I think that's what we have to see.
So, Ira, you and I have had the good fortune of covering college football for a very long time now, and it never gets boring for me. And I woke up today in such a good mood, smiling ear to ear, like, here we go, get a chance to do this. I always wanted to do this. It's great. What are you most looking forward to? To me, I was describing this last hour. When you're a really bad football team or you're in the throes of a tough stretch and a team hasn't shown evidence that they're coming out of it anytime soon, it can be really tough to get excited because you know that they're a year or two away. But one of the most exciting things on the opposite side of that coin is when there is a glimmer of hope that the climb is going to reveal some gains, that somewhere along the way now you're beginning to see take shape the makings of a good football program again. And I think that's what this season feels like to a lot of us who want to see Florida State take this step forward, certainly the fans listening to this, but even those of us who cover it, it's more fun to cover a team that has hope to achieve something and build something. I feel like that's what this season's about. Like there is certainly a belief amongst those players and coaches that they are much better than they were the last 2 years. And I think you feel that way too, do you not?
No, I definitely do. And a lot of people will ask us when we talk about things we've liked in this preseason camp. A lot of people say, well, what were you saying a year ago? What were you saying 2 years ago? And I think a year or two ago, we would talk about, man, if this goes right for them, this would happen. Or maybe if they can just minimize this deficiency, then maybe they can do this. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of us went into last season thinking that was a team that was probably going to win about 6 football games, and that would be a success. This team's gone further than that. I mean, this team is a better team overall. They've got much better depth. I think that's really apparent when you look at that depth chart and you look at some of the guys who are on second team. Again, I mentioned Amari Gaynor, but there's guys across the board that are on second team that are guys, or sometimes listed third, that can really play. And so that to me is, if you're a Florida State fan, I think what you need to be excited about is, I don't think you necessarily have your 11 is going to be one of the best 11s in the country. But overall, the depth now, I think, is a place where you can compete with other teams in your conference and some of the better teams in your conference, because you don't have those drop-offs. I would love to get in the mind of Mike Norvell or Adam Fuller in times last year or the year before when they had to sub in guys. And what must the thought process have been? Oh my gosh, I got to put this guy in? Like, he can't do the job. I don't think there's very many of those situations anymore. I think all of these guys, they have depth pretty much across the board. And so, and me personally, there are some young guys that I really think very highly of, but we haven't seen it yet on Saturdays in some of these transfers. So I want to see how they look and whether or not, and we may not see it this week against Duquesne, but I want to see if we can kind of have trust in what we saw during camp and whether or not it's real. Because there's a lot of guys on this team, including transfers and even some of the freshmen, who we haven't seen on Saturdays yet, but we believe can play at a high level. And you want to see that and whether or not your own estimation was correct.
It's really apparent to me when you describe it that way, how true that is on the offensive line. If a year ago a guy went down, and they did, quite literally, I believe behind closed doors, coaches went, oh my God, I got to put in this guy, as you just said. And it was nothing personal against the kid. He just either wasn't ready or couldn't play, whatever it was. And I don't think they would say that at any one of those offensive line positions right now. Now, obviously, you hold your breath. You don't have any more problems at center. But really, you look at this and you say, okay, if so-and-so has to play, if Turnentine has to play, if Schrader gets put in, if Estes gets put in, you don't feel bad about that. You feel like those guys can sustain, if not actually thrive. So that's exciting. And they haven't had that since Norvell and staff have been here. They haven't had it at all. And I would agree with you there. And that is reason enough to kind of breathe a sigh of relief, because we both know if you're not deep enough on the offensive and defensive lines, then you really can't make it through a football season and expect to succeed.
And I think that's where we were. I think a lot of times, I'm sure the coaching staff was in the same place, was, okay, if these guys can stay healthy, last year was a perfect example. You might have said, well, if Dylan Gibbons and Devontae Love-Taylor and Robert Scott, and if those guys can stay healthy, you got a chance. But none of them stayed healthy. I mean, at all different points, they were all banged up. Maurice Smith also was banged up. So and then you had nobody else to turn to. I mean, again, I always go back to Devontae Love-Taylor because he played. We saw him the year before.
He was at 50% last year.
He was a pretty good. Yeah, he was a pretty good player 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Last year they had to keep putting him out there, and he couldn't block anybody. And so that you're so far past that now. I love the idea that they have Julian Armella on the 2 deep as a true freshman at left tackle. Now I don't know if something happened to Robert Scott. I'm not 100% sure they wouldn't swing somebody else over there if they had to. But that shows you again what Julian Armella is, and we've seen that in camp, that kid could be a star down the road. That wasn't a happen chance that they put him in that second team offensive tackle spot. That they're letting him know that they believe in him, and I think he is what we think he's going to be.
Well, and he's passionate. So they know he's going to keep working and keep playing hard and keep working to get bigger and all the things that he's going to need to do in case he does have to play this year. Knock on wood that he doesn't. For once, if they were able to get through a season and allow these guys to continue to develop, get playing time, but just develop at a normal rate, then Florida State's offensive line really could be very, very good next year. All right, well, happy game week, my brother. I will see you tomorrow, and I'm excited. And, man, it's finally here. We made it. We made it.
Sounds good, man. Talk soon.
Be good, brother. Yeah, we made it. That's all I keep saying to myself. Finally. Armella, he brought him up at the end there. When you watch him in practice, you see feast or famine. Armella is a guy that when you watch dominate a rep, you get so excited about because oh my goodness, that's in him as a freshman. But then you also see that he's a freshman. A veteran player will take him to school, and you realize, well, if he had to play right now, there are going to be moments like that in the game where he would get abused. And that's the way it's supposed to be for freshmen. There's nothing unusual about that. But he is talented, and that frame with those feet and that bend, it suggests that he's going to be very, very good.
Yeah, to frame the Armella argument in a positive light, you'd say you're going to get put on your ass if you're a freshman. That's consistently going to happen at any position on the offensive line. But he wins more than most freshmen should. He wins more reps than most freshmen should, especially at this program the last 5-6 years. He wins more than any of them ever have against top-flight competition.
Well, and I think the thing is, too, by the way, you see it with the respect the veteran players give him, Tom.
Yep.
If they're asked a question, they bring him up.
And then they're not asked about Armella. They're asked about the offensive line, and his name comes up. It happened from both Robert Scott, and it happened with Robert mentioned him as a segment mate, but it happened from Jared Verse, and Fabian Lovett brought him up.
Yeah. Well, they see in him what that potential is. And they've had moments against him where he has actually won a rep. And you're like, okay, true freshman out here winning a rep against a guy like Fabian Lovett or a guy like Jared Verse. Yeah.
Now, I tend to agree, though, that if Robert Scott was banged up, I don't know that Julian would be first off the bench as the 2 deep would suggest. If he was, I'd actually be surprised. But that doesn't mean that come midseason he wouldn't be in the conversation in a way that I don't believe he is now.
Right.
We'll see, though.
Yeah. Many other roofing companies hire out subcontractors to do their work for them, but that's not what T-Spark Enterprises does. They hire employees, and that's because they value the immense benefits that come with having a trusted, reliable, highly trained crew that can be held to the high standards T-Spark is known for, experts in their craft, pride in their work. That is the T-Spark difference. T-Spark is the best in town. Give them a call today, 766-1340, or get a free quote online at tsparkconstruction.com.
Your local news now.
The Gadsden County Sheriff's Office announced Sunday afternoon that they are searching for a missing juvenile. 14-year-old Takesha Guinea, a black female, was last seen at her residence in Midway at 11 p.m. Saturday. She may be in Gadsden County or in the Tallahassee area. Guinea is listed at 5'5" in height, 110 pounds, with long black curly hair, and last seen wearing a black one-piece jumper. Takesha may be in the company of Amani Williams. If located, contact the Gadsden County Sheriff's Office at 850-627-9233. A man was found dead in a vehicle in Jefferson Jefferson County Friday night. At 7:38 p.m. Friday, FHP said it received a call about a possible armed and suicidal individual. The caller said that the subject was potentially located at an unknown rest area on I-10. The vehicle was located at the 234-mile marker westbound Jefferson County rest area. The person inside the truck, a 55-year-old male of Tallahassee, was pronounced dead. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Scattered thunderstorms likely this afternoon, otherwise cloudy skies expected. Highs level off around 87, winds out the west around 5 miles per hour. Scattered thunderstorms likely tonight, lows level off around 72, cloudy skies expected. Overcast tomorrow, scattered thunderstorms likely, highs level off around 86. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 90.
If you're a business owner of any kind, you need advanced fire protection services. We are AFPS, and we provide high-quality life safety services throughout Northwest Florida, and we've been doing it since 1989, with offices now in Tallahassee. Fire sprinklers, fire alarms, fire extinguishers, hood suppression systems, and emergency exit lights. For all of your life safety equipment, we've got you covered 24/7. We are Advanced Fire Protection Services. For a free life safety system evaluation, visit WeSaveLives.com. That's WeSaveLives.com.
Well. Hey, Jeff, look at this place.
Yeah. Well, doing well. It's been a while since I've seen you, brother, but, it hasn't been a while since I've been over to Gordo's. I go there on the regular because of you, Eddie.
Well, we keep you regular.
Well, that's true, but I think of Gordo's as a place to sit down, have a cold beer, talk to your friends, enjoy the sports, eat the delicious food. But I think of you as Uncle Eddie, a man who takes care of his people and takes care of the town.
I appreciate that, Jeff. Hey, and we'll keep you regular.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Here's what you missed on the Greg Tish Show.
There's a TikTok that's going viral because of a butter softening method. They are putting the Vermont Creamery butter in the waistband of her pants. Give it 5 minutes. You can go and measure out your ingredients, and then your butter is ready to go. You cannot do this in Florida.
No.
Because your pants will be full of butter in 2 minutes. Somebody try it. Post on TikTok.
Unless it says juicy across the back.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3. The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road, and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Robert Cooper, 7:30. You can watch that show. Looking forward to it. It'll be fun. He's a fun player to watch play football. He's one of many guys that make it easy to kind of root for this team. We've talked about what's different, what's better, areas of concern. Finally getting to game week, getting excited about it. But now we're going to really begin the process of watching these games, analyzing these games, and seeing where Florida State can get better, where they're weak, areas that they can take advantage of, and areas that will be concerned teams take advantage of them. But one of the things that we do know is, without question, they've got some real talent in the interior of that defensive line. And one of the things that's, I think, consistent with all those guys that we know are going to be playing a lot of minutes, or a lot of snaps, I should say, is that not only are they big and strong and capable physically, they have a passion for the game. And Robert Cooper fits that mold. And I think that's important. It always is. I think you got to be passionate to play football. I really do. I don't, that's a game that requires of you a lot of sacrifice, a lot of emotion. I talk about it all the time. It's a physical game. I mean, you have to be impassioned when you play this game, and you have to love football. And Robert Cooper loves football too. He makes me laugh.
It'll be an interesting format too. It's a little bit different. Aslan is still going to be the MC of the show, and he did a great job last year with DLT. That's not the easiest season in terms of the win-loss record, and also DLT's
brutal deal,
ability to play. You know, it's a really tough situation a lot of those weeks. But that was a straight Q&A format. But this year, Robert is going to be welcoming other players into the show. So his teammates are going to come along. And so he's going to play the role of interviewer a little bit as well.
That'll be fun.
So it'll be fun to see how Robert handles it and who his first guest is. But that's again tonight at 7:30 exclusively on Warchant TV.
Yeah, and he's going to have a good year. I talked about this going all the way back to the spring when we found out he was coming back. I thought it was huge for Florida State on a lot of levels. Same with Fabian Lovett, obviously. And, I thought that Coop was going to play his way into maybe making some money. I think a lot of people just feel like he's a college football player and a good college football player. And I'm not telling you he's an elite NFL prospect, but given his skill set, and he's in the best shape of his life, and the passion that he plays with, he might be able to get himself paid a little bit. He might be able to have a shot there.
Absolutely. I think so. I don't know about a top 50 pick or anything like that, but if you're looking for a rotational guy at the next level who can help you on first and second down or third and short goal line, very situational player, but 2 out of every 3 downs in a series is huge if you can get that type of player to be in your rotation. Not everybody has to be a Vita Vea who could be a pass rusher on top of a run stopper. If you've got a run stuffer, that's going to get you paid for a while. So I think he's got real prospects.
I'm rooting for him. Again, he's fun to watch play, and there are a lot of guys on that 2 deep on the defensive side of the ball that are that way. Dennis Briggs loves to play football and is a big, talented man. Fabian Lovett, who I just mentioned. You guys know, I think the world of Tatum Bethune. I think it was a huge pickup bringing him in here, getting him. That's a kid that loves the position. He's heady. He's very, very intense. He gets guys lined up. He's not afraid to be vocal, even though it's his first year here. He knows that experience translates. He is an alpha through and through. Everybody kind of follows him. And I think he upgrades them in every facet of the position.
It's funny if you look at that, 2 deep defensively speaking. We lost 2 transfers last year who were one and dones. Couldn't keep them for another year. If you could, I would have found a way NIL-wise to retain the services of Jermaine Johnson or
that would have been tough to do.
Keir Thomas.
I think
it would have been
NFL is
expensive.
Going to pay him an awful lot. Yeah,
Clemson's found a way. Certainly, the guys that they keep. But if you have a good year from Fabian Lovett and Jared Verse and certainly Tatum Bethune at linebacker to go along with Jamie Robinson, another transfer, I know that the idea is that you get high school players in here and you cultivate them over the long term. But now that the transfer portal is open to not only graduate students, but immediate eligibility for undergraduate students, you will now have a multi-year track record under Mike Norvell that you are a place where if you're good, we can make you better. If you're very good, we can make you a first-round pick. Like that's an important thing because as we're roster building here, I don't want it to be always through the transfer portal, but I like that it's an attractive thing for kids who are thinking about transferring that look at all these kids that got better when they went to Florida State.
The kids that have are also kids that come back and vie for the system here and vie for what they bought into and the success that they had. That's also almost equally as important, right? That guys who could have gone to higher profile schools or at least schools that have had more recent success, Jermaine Johnson fits in that category. He chose Florida State very specifically because of Mike Norvell and the things that Mike Norvell said to him when they contacted him. I have talked to Mike Norvell about this subject, and I don't want to get into all the details because I don't think he wants me to, but they have a very unique approach to addressing those needs within obviously the defense or the offense, whatever player they're looking at, and how they approach it, how they talk to that person. And a lot of it is not just about whether or not you're a good football player. That stands to reason. They're not reaching out to bad football players. So, I mean, they're going to, the part of that is you have to have the requisite talent, skill set, size, speed, all that for us to even reach out to you. And that's a given. Those are usually guys that are being sought after by many schools. And as I say, a lot of those schools have had more recent success. So why is it Florida State is able to get some of these guys, have success with them, and then not only improve their stock in the NFL, which goes a long way in attracting the attention of future transfer portal guys, but those guys that didn't do that come back and talk very highly of what it was they learned here in their brief time here, their brief stint here. And it is a no-nonsense approach to the transfer portal that they took a risk with, that a lot of guys who are being fawned over, who are being promised an awful lot of things, are not being told those same things about their time in Florida State. I mean, I'm sure there's a measure of, hey, the depth chart kind of tells you that we need you, but
just because it doesn't mean you're guaranteed a damn thing.
No, right. Yeah. We're going to expect this, and this.
Because if you suck as an individual, I'm sorry, man, it doesn't work.
And I asked Adam Fuller about that too, and he's like, yeah, we look at a lot of things. First of all, can they play? Yes. But then from there, we talk to these guys because, and I think this is where there's a fairness to it. They treat these guys like men, as they should, And they recognize that they're not God's gift to football either, meaning Florida State. So the thought is like, okay, look, man, this is what we want from our guys, whether we're recruiting them out of high school or they're coming in as a second-year or third-year player in college football. We need you to be able to get along with guys in your segment group because we're done with that thing that happened when we first got here. When we got here, there were some really fractured relationships depending on the segment group you were talking about. There were guys who were late to meetings, didn't show up to meetings, lots of things.
Showed up to meetings in
And
altered states.
Yeah. So we're not doing that. We're not bringing a guy in. Yeah, you may be fast as hell and can jump out of the room, but if you're going to be a problem for us because you're just viewing this as a one-off and you don't care to buy into what we're trying to do, this isn't going to work. And you know what? Maybe you go somewhere else and it does. That's fine. We get it, but we're not doing that. And
it may work here in years to come, but you've got to have, there's a balance.
Well,
it's
where
fragile.
we're at in development,
yes,
it's very fragile.
It's fragile. And so you've got to look at the weight of the anchor, potentially. If you're a talented transfer, but you're up and down and you're not consistent, what is that going to do to this thing that we have cultivated? This plant was dead. We brought it back to life. Germination is happening, folks. But, here comes bad weather, and you can't be that thing. So you could feel it. There's an urgency when they talk about those things that, and he could work. This player could work, or that player could work, but it might undermine the whole damn thing, and that would cost us the war.
Well, one of the problems when you have as much turnover as Florida State had over about a 5-year stretch, it's not just with personnel, but with coaches, right? So if you make a mistake, your margin for error is very small because you've lost out on classes. Guys have transferred because the coach that recruited them has been fired or he's moved on.
Dozens of kids.
Yeah,
dozens.
Right. So now your margin for error is virtually nil. You're kind of starting over. And if you make the mistake and evaluate poorly, and you put people in leadership positions that aren't willing to take on that responsibility and don't work hard and are a bad example of what you're trying to get done, well, then, you've kneecapped yourself before it ever gets started. That happened with Willie. And so these things, you just can't afford to do it. You'd rather just not have the guy. So they're
exactly.
Able to,
they've made that determination,
yeah,
though. They're not going to take a chance on a kid who, if everything goes right, he's a front runner and it's going to work.
Right. You'd rather just not have a guy that's potentially the case for. Let's do some probables here. Let's fire it up.
It's time for, how you say, with the pitching, probables?
Kansas City out to an early lead, 4-0. Lost in the mix on football week is how good Major League Baseball is right now. It's really good. I know you're nervous nightly. Fun to watch.
It's that stretch.
It's a good stretch.
Another 8 days or so, and then it's breather time. Yeah.
4-0. Kansas City leads the White Sox. Michael Kopech and Daniel Lynch. Reds, Phillies, Luis Cessa and Noah Syndergaard. Braves get to beat up on my Buccos tonight in Pittsburgh. Yikes. Jake Odorizzi starting for the Braves. Rosie Gutierrez starting for the Pirates. That ain't going to go well. Mets, Yankees, Max Scherzer, Domingo Germán. Oh, buddy. Okay.
As long as the weather holds up. I'm not getting my hopes up. A little shaky forecast tonight.
Game, Come on. Angels, Rays, Tucker Davidson, Jeffrey Springs. We got Rangers, Twins. Cole Reagans from right here in Tallahassee, Florida.
He pitches every day.
Looking for his first win. Come on, Cole. Sonny Gray going to go for the Twins. Cardinals, Cubs, Jordan Montgomery, Drew Smiley. Marlins, A's, Edward Cabrera, and Adam Euler. Brewers, Dodgers, late night. Eric Bauer, Julio Urias. And that is a look at those that shall reside on the bump. $7:30 tonight in the Coop. Robert Cooper. And tomorrow, Seminole headlines. Exciting times. It is game week. Briley, I'll answer your question. How do I feel about Travis breaking the rock? I think that is not unexpected. I think you would, when you have the opportunity to make your quarterback the unquestioned leader, and he's worked hard and done the things you've asked of him. I think it was largely predicated on the work he did in the gym. I think it was largely predicated on the attention to detail, and that includes what he ate and how he worked out and what he did to put himself in a position to get through camp without missing serious time. And then of course he plays the position where by definition you have to be a leader.
Well, and now that camp is over, we can talk about it a little bit more openly. The depth chart was there for our consumption today. Check out warchant.com if you haven't seen the full depth chart. We've got it for you there. Last year in fall camp, there was fundamental concern of who was going to be out there and available every day to take snaps. Now, like, there's a concern this year about who is giving the snaps and who's snapping the football, but it's not about who is going to be receiving the snaps with the first team and the second team. Last year, you had no idea who your quarterback was going to be.
Well, and I'll say it since we are a year removed. I mean, there were weeks where you might not have gotten your potential starting quarterback on the field for a week.
Or the reserve.
That's no way to be. That's just no way to be. It doesn't foster the leadership. It doesn't give you any kind of synergy.
You don't get a parade for being there most every day. But last year, I mean, between McKenzie and Jordan, there was a week or two where maybe they were combined for 3 practices out of 8.
Well, that's why you were so frustrated with having to report about the frequency with which special teams were repped. I'm like, really?
Like that worked.
We're going to go all special
Should rep
teams,
something else.
Yeah. Third string quarterback, they should have ripped the hell out of him because, I mean, that was a frustrating set of circumstances that they did not have to deal with this year at all, which was great. Good work out of you. Thank you, Director Matthew, as well. Thanks to Ira, and thanks to all of you, most importantly. Thanks for listening. Be well. We'll be back with you tomorrow. Peace.